America just turned Iran's deadliest weapon against itself, and Iran never saw it coming. In the opening hours of Operation Epic Fury, a drone lifted off from a U.S. military base somewhere in the Middle East. It had a V-shaped body, delta wings, a buzzing engine that sounded exactly like the weapon Iran had been using to terrorize Israel and Ukraine for years. From the outside, it looked identical to an Iranian Shahed drone. But the serial number on that aircraft did not point back to Tehran. It pointed to Arizona. America had just fired Iran's own weapon back at Iran, and the weapon that did it had never been used in combat before that moment. The Pentagon called it Lucas. Iran called it a nightmare they had no answer for. How does America reverse engineer your most dangerous weapon, improve it, and use it to destroy your military before you even realize what is happening? Stay with me, because this story is bigger than one drone. This is the moment American warfare changed forever. First, you need to understand why Iran's original drone was so dangerous. Iran spent years developing the Shahed 136, a one-way attack drone. Simple, cheap, and terrifying. Think of it like a flying bomb with wings. Iran does not fly it back. It flies it straight into a target and explodes. No pilot, no recovery, no second chance to stop it once it is in the air. The Shahed costs around $30,000 to build. That sounds like a lot until you realize the missile America uses to shoot it down costs $2 million. Iran figured out the math years before anyone else did. Fire enough $30,000 drones, and eventually the defender runs out of $2 million missiles. Russia used the exact same logic against Ukraine, and it worked. Entire Ukrainian cities went dark because Iran gave Russia this playbook. Iran was so proud of this weapon, they mass-produced thousands of them. They believed no one could copy it fast enough to matter. They were wrong. A few years before the war started, American forces captured an intact Iranian Shahed drone. They did not destroy it. They shipped it back to the United States, and they handed it to a small aerospace company in Arizona called SpectreWorks with one instruction: take it apart, figure out how it works, then build something better. SpectreWorks got to work. They studied every component of the Iranian design, the engine, the navigation system, the wing structure, everything. And then they built America's answer, the low-cost, uncrewed combat attack system, Lucas. Same V-shaped body, same delta wings, same terrifying buzzing sound, but inside, something completely different. Where the Iranian Shahed uses basic GPS coordinates to find a fixed target, Lucas uses artificial intelligence and vision-based object recognition. It does not just fly to a location, it looks for specific military hardware. It identifies a target the same way a human eye would, and then steers itself directly into it. The Iranian drone is a flying bomb. Lucas is a flying sniper, and it costs $35,000 per drone, less than the weapon it was copied from. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth held up a Lucas drone at a Pentagon briefing in July 2025. He showed it to the cameras. He called it America's answer to the Shahed. Most people outside the military community barely noticed. Iran noticed. Iran's military analysts reportedly studied that briefing carefully. They knew what it meant. America had cracked their design. The question was whether America could produce enough of them fast enough to matter. Iran calculated the answer was no. SpectreWorks was a small company. Pentagon procurement moves slowly. It takes years to go from a prototype to a combat-deployed weapon. Iran believed they had time. They did not. SpectreWorks went from that public Pentagon debut to combat deployment in 7 months. 7 months. A timeline that would have been completely impossible for any traditional defense contractor. The old way of building military weapons involves years of testing, thousands of pages of contracts, congressional approval cycles, and procurement timelines measured in decades. SpectreWorks built Lucas on an open architecture system specifically designed to skip all of that. Modular components that can be swapped quickly, software that can be updated in the field, a frame that can be assembled and launched from a mobile ground system, a catapult, or a rocket-assisted takeoff anywhere in the theater. When Operation Epic Fury launched on February 28, 2026, Lucas was ready. CENTCOM Commander Admiral Brad Cooper announced the first combat use of Lucas that same day. His exact words deserve to be repeated. He said this: America captured an original Iranian drone design, pulled the guts out, sent it back to America, put a Made in America label on it, brought it back, and fired it at the Iranians. That is not a military briefing. That is a statement of complete and total dominance. Here is why Lucas changes the entire math of this war. Iran built their military strategy around one assumption: American weapons are too expensive to use in large numbers. A Tomahawk cruise missile costs $1.5 million. An AGM-88 anti-radiation missile costs around $900,000. Even a standard air-launched bomb with guidance costs tens of thousands of dollars per strike. Iran believed that America could not sustain a high-volume attack campaign without burning through a defense budget that even Congress would eventually refuse to fund. They designed their defenses around absorbing a limited number of very expensive American strikes. Survive the first wave, survive the second wave, wait for America to run out of political will and expensive weapons. Lucas destroyed that calculation completely. At $35,000 per drone, America can build and deploy hundreds of Lucas units for the cost of a single Tomahawk. Iran's air defense systems cost millions of dollars per interceptor missile. Every time Iran shoots down a Lucas drone, they are spending more money to defend against it than America spent to build and launch it. Iran invented this cost curve to use against the West. America just turned it around and pointed it directly at Tehran. And Lucas does not work alone. This is where it gets even more dangerous for Iran. Lucas was designed as a swarm weapon. Multiple drones launched simultaneously, communicating with each other through a network called music, coordinating their approach, splitting up to attack from different angles, overwhelming a single defensive position from multiple directions at once. Iran's air defense operators trained their entire careers to track and engage one threat at a time: a single incoming missile, a single aircraft. Lucas does not give them one threat. It gives them 20 arriving from different directions at the same moment. There is no trained response for that. There is no procedure fast enough. The math simply does not work in the defender's favor when the attacker costs $35,000 and the interceptor costs $2 million. Now here is the detail that makes this story truly remarkable. Lucas is not just a bomb. The same drone frame can carry 3 completely different payloads depending on the mission. Load it with explosives and it is a precision strike weapon. Load it with sensors and it becomes a surveillance drone, feeding targeting data back to American commanders in real time. Load it with a jamming system and it becomes an electronic warfare platform disrupting Iranian radar and communications. One $35,000 airframe. 3 completely different weapons depending on what America needs in that exact moment. Iran built the Shahed to do one thing: fly into a target and explode. America studied that design and built something that can do everything. Now think about what Lucas did on the ground in those opening hours. Iranian IRGC commanders woke up on February 28th to something they had never experienced before. A swarm of drones that looked and sounded exactly like their own Shaheds were hitting their command centers, their missile launch sites, their radar installations, and their air defense batteries simultaneously. For a brief moment, Iranian air defense operators reportedly could not tell whether the incoming drones were their own malfunctioning units or an American attack. By the time they figured it out, Lucas had already destroyed the targets it was sent for. That confusion, even if it lasted only seconds, was worth more than any single missile America could have fired. Because confusion at the command level is the one thing no air defense system in the world is designed to survive. Iran's drone assaults against American forces reportedly dropped by 95% during Operation Epic Fury. 95%. That number tells you exactly what happened when America showed up with Lucas, and a military doctrine built around overwhelming volume rather than overwhelming cost. Iran had spent years refining a strategy of cheap mass attacks designed to exhaust expensive American defenses. America showed up with something cheaper, something smarter, something built from Iran's own playbook and improved beyond anything Iran could respond to. Some will say Lucas is not a magic solution. They are not completely wrong. The Pentagon's own chief technology officer admitted that Lucas production numbers going into the operation were in the dozens, not the thousands. Full-rate production had not started yet. America shipped what it had and it worked. But the real test of this weapon is not what it did on February 28th. The real test is what it signals for every future conflict. The Pentagon has signaled a $1 billion multi-year purchase of Lucas drones. SpectreWorks is scaling production. The drone dominance program is accelerating. By September 2026, analysts project Lucas production orders will exceed 5,000 units. The gap between what America can build and what any adversary can defend against is about to get wider every single month. Here is what makes the Lucas story even more poetic. Iran did not just lose the drone war on February 28th, they lost it to themselves. Every design decision they made when they built the Shahed, the V-shape for stability, the delta wings for range, the simple propulsion for reliability, America studied all of it and kept what worked. Then America added what Iran could never afford to add. Artificial intelligence, swarm coordination software, modular payload systems, vision-based targeting that identifies specific military hardware instead of just flying to a GPS coordinate. Iran built a weapon that could hit a building. America built a weapon that can identify which building, which vehicle parked outside it, and which specific piece of military equipment is worth hitting. That is not an improvement. That is a completely different category of weapon wearing Iran's uniform. Here is the bigger picture that every American should understand. The era of warfare where only the richest country with the most expensive weapons wins is over. The new era belongs to the country that can think the fastest, build the cheapest, and scale the quickest. For decades, Iran believed they found the formula to fight a superpower without fighting one directly. Cheap drones, asymmetric attacks, bleed the expensive American defense budget one interceptor missile at a time. It was a smart strategy. It almost worked. But America watched. America learned. America captured the weapon, studied it in a lab in Arizona, and came back 7 months later with something better, cheaper, and smarter than anything Iran had ever built. Iran spent decades building the world's most sophisticated drone program. They spread that technology to Russia, to the Houthis, to Hezbollah. They believed the drone would always belong to the attacker who could produce the cheapest one fastest. They were right about the logic. They were completely wrong about who would win that race. America studied their weapon. America captured their design. America built something better in 7 months. And America flew it straight back at the people who invented it before they even finished congratulating themselves on creating it. There is only one country on this planet that can take your most dangerous weapon, improve it, and fire it back at you before you finish building the next version. Only one military, only one industrial base, only one nation that turns its enemy's greatest strength into its own greatest weapon.